Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining our webinar today. This is a webinar following on from our survey where we surveyed SMEs at the back end of 2020. Before I get going, I just wanted to do some introductions. For those of you who've been with us on previous webinars, you know we like to have audience participation. Obviously, everybody is on mute, so we don't allow you to sort of talk over us while we're presenting, but we do want you to ask us questions. And to do that, you will have a chat panel on your GoToWebinar app that should be on your screen somewhere. It says questions, and if you put your question in there, then a member of the team will either answer you as we go along, or we might read your question out at the right point throughout the webinar.
To date with what they're doing online. Never a true word said, but the internet, is now the town square, the global village of tomorrow. There is nothing really that you can't find online through a quick search on Google. So to appear there is really important, and to be in front of your prospects is very important. The other thing we're seeing is a massive growth in social media. As more and more people work from home, we found that lots more people were leaving Facebook open in the day, Twitter, LinkedIn, and so on. And where we've managed it for our clients, it's been really important to change the message from what can be sometimes quite a salesy message to one that's very supportive and educational sort of driven. But you must keep communicating. We've seen lots of clients that have pulled back on marketing, that have actually stopped communicating. And they're going to find it very difficult now to gain the traction, as perhaps some of their competitors have continued and gained more of a footprint. It's crucially important to be authentic and use a real voice and tone in your marketing. Some of the best video content that I've seen on LinkedIn is where it's come from the business owner of large businesses explaining the struggles that they've had. And that's really an authentic voice, and people will engage with that. You must understand the platforms. It's really important that you don't just spend on all types of marketing. You need to understand where your client base actually reside. Are they on Facebook? Are they, hiding on LinkedIn today? And use the right marketing means to reach them. You can also look at things like instant messaging. The increase in WhatsApp and the use of LinkedIn for notifications and messaging has really spiked as well. So that's something that we've seen tremendous value from. Again, I mentioned before, but the use of videos, certainly through social media, has been crucial. Quick, sharp videos have been really good to engage with audiences. And using the live video features through Facebook, through YouTube, and also LinkedIn, if you have that facility at the moment. One thing that we do use for a lot of our clients has been really useful is to use social listening to really participate and gain the insight of what's happening on social media. This allows you to join real-time conversations on the topics, on the keywords that you search for. It also allows you to find influencers that may be having some really good in-depth conversations about your particular industry or your services or products. And it's a great way to join the conversation in real time. And it also allows you to look at your competition. Actually, has their voice changed? Have they started posting a lot more aggressively? Is that something that you should look at? So social listening is really crucial to understand your metrics. Like this, creating webinars to share thoughts, to share it with other industry leaders as well is really useful. And again, it's all about that education. It's about sharing your knowledge and your education with others to build that sort of communication with your prospects and your clients. So 39% of social media users polled, they're actually spending a lot more time on social media. Now that's pretty much as we thought would happen. Being at home more, you know, a lot more people were taking to social media. But actually, marketers expected 66% increase in social media content creation because of that. Again, 50% increase in blog content and video production. So all these things I just spoke about have really spiked. But interestingly enough, 23% of consumers actually are planning to continue watching more live streaming, more videos post the outbreak. So again, that's showing that actually this new way of marketing isn't going to go back to the old days. You know, it's going to continue, if not push forward. And again, Gen Z and millennials expecting brands to take action to help COVID. Now, that's a really interesting stat. Big brands, you would have seen people like Brewdog who do a fantastic job of this, going out of their way to really publicize what they've been doing and help their followers and their community. And that's being really seen. And people are engaging with that a lot more. 40% of consumers also said that humorous communication was the wrong approach for brands. I think that, for me, is certainly quite an obvious one. It's a very delicate situation, obviously, through the pandemic. It can be very easy to try and turn a difficult situation into a more of a lighthearted meme. But unfortunately, that isn't the approach to take, and the consumers were very clear on that. As Gary says, it's all about giving value, lots of times, and then asking for the business. So with that in mind, people were taking to Google a lot more. They were spending a lot more time on their computers. They were searching for services and products, doing a lot more research before decisions had been made. So investing in social media, in SEO, both organic and paid, is really important. It's important to understand your keywords. You know, what are your prospects looking for? What are they searching for in order to find your website? So we've advised a lot of our clients to spend a lot of time thinking long and hard about questions. With voice search coming through, it's really important to make sure that where prospects would search for, you know, who is the best XYZ in their area, to make sure that your website has that content and that you've spent the time researching those phrases and those questions. Always invest, obviously, in updating your website, and that will help with the rankings. You know, it is all about content. It is all about making sure that you're creating and delivering really valuable content on a regular basis, not just one-hit wonders. And that comes back to creating sticky content for visitors. You know, content that really visitors want to spend time on and read and digest and learn from. And again, it shows your expertise again. Again, those of you that haven't sort of got you know, local listing set up on Google, that's really important. Reviews especially are a ranking factor. We've seen that time and time again. So having a local presence within Google Local, even if your premises isn't open right now and your office isn't open, having that local presence in Google on the local business and having lots of reviews is a great way to show people that you're a trusted company and you're a trusted business. And also invest in what is really low cost or targeted campaigns. You know, it's very easy with things like PPC and AdWords to spend huge amounts of money on those very short keywords and phrases in the hope that you'll appear in the top results. But actually being very targeted on your niches, being targeted against certain longer tail keywords and phrases will actually be where you win a lot of business. So really delve into your stats, really delve deep into your PPC accounts and understand which keywords and phrases are generating the right type of business for you, and then focus on that a little bit further. So again, from a stats point of view, you know, we've seen that, you know, search engine ads, you know, have been forecast to grow quite heavily. And again, we've seen that 76% of SMEs said that they've upskilled in areas like SEO, social media and data analytics. So again, it's very clear that, you know, using this downtime where people perhaps have been furloughed, they've been reinvesting their time in training courses, learning these new digital skills, and that's been really good. Again, 67% of businesses have undertaken already implemented marketing transformation strategies. Now, that might not just be, looking at laptops for the staff and remote working and things, but actually marketing transformation, moving away from the old-fashioned days of maybe just popping an ad out on social and hoping it works, but really delving deeper into the results and making sure that their ads work running the right way. The 79% of content marketing strategy, 7% of major or moderate adjustments. So they really have made a big change to the way they're conducting their marketing now moving forward. And again, that's something to really bear in mind, that the old-fashioned approach may not work in the same way as it used to. One thing we've found certainly across whether it be website content or social media content is that you need to tell that real story. Tell them something real that they can relate to, that sparks emotion. Make it relevant to your service and your product and what you're telling them. But it's a great way to really stay in front of your target audience. So the other thing is to look at a 360-degree approach. We've all sent out leaflets, I'm sure we've all done door-to-door, we've all done telesales and so on, but actually looking at that holistic approach now is the way forward. So using influence, for example, if you've not done it before, using influencers to promote your brand and your services, they already have a good following generally. That's why they're influencers. So actually to piggyback on their success and get in front of their audience if they're targeted is a great way of generating new inquiries for your business. Creating multiple touch points as well, or a full range of channels. So again, it's not just as simple as hope that you do SEO and people land on your website and the website can convert them, but actually run services like remarketing. So every visitor that lands on your site, you can then reach them again through a Facebook ad or a LinkedIn ad relevant to what they looked at on your website. It's making sure you're joining those dots together. It's about creating a greater experience, ultimately, for the customer. They need to be comfortable that they can deal with you, that you understand them and what they're trying to gain. And actually the experience of the customer now is pivotal. We've seen really great stats around the user journey. If you improve the user journey on your website and the information you provide them, they get to the end point, they get to that decision a lot quicker because they feel more comfortable with you. They trust you a lot quicker as well. Again, comes back to creating these webinars, not just with your own team or your CEO, but also with other leaders within different industries as well. So you're sharing that knowledge piece and giving extra value to your clients as well. Events certainly have changed, as we know. I hope that the days of coming back into events where we can meet face to face will certainly come back around. But the hybrid approach is something that certainly will people be moving forward with, and it's not going to go away. So this idea of actually joining an event in Dubai, or in New York, it's not going to be a case of now having to fly there. You may well be able to jump on, a quick call and watch a presentation. So look at events, look at online events that perhaps you haven't looked at before, maybe in different geographic areas or even countries, to reach a new audience. And I think, with all marketing, it's about that solid follow-up and that appointment setting as well. We are now very much more educated about the decisions we make. So when we look at a company, we want to deal with a company, and we're investigating a little bit further to see if it's a good fit. 9 times out of 10, those people will also look at your profile, not just on your website, but on social media channels. They'll want to find some of your staff on LinkedIn and see what their background is and see their experience. So make sure that you've got multiple touch points for follow-up as well. Just because they've come to a website and made an inquiry does not mean to say they've made a decision. So spending that additional time understanding them a little bit further, making sure that you're giving them information throughout that buying process is crucial. 65% of senior marketers obviously plan to revamp their offices after COVID. Their intention to adopt a fully remote working sort of scenario. Now, that's not going to be true for every business, but certainly for ourselves, we're going to be moving to a bit more remote working for our employees by choice. And because of that, they are going to be at home. They're going to be harder to reach in the old traditional ways. So marketing again through social media, through LinkedIn is a fantastic way of reaching these people in their home. 79% of CMOs, We're going to continue to pursue relatively conservative growth strategies and looking at existing markets to fuel growth, which is fantastic. But also make sure that you think a little bit outside the box. If you've introduced new products or services, are those target audiences the same? Do they look the same? So really spend some time understanding those additional markets. Again, email marketing, 66%, website, 63%, social media marketing, 52%. These are all the top tactics that brands have handled internally this year. Now, again, it goes back to what I said before. Unfortunately, the problem is that they haven't always got the hands and the time to be able to deal with all these things and do it proactively. And this is something that you need to bear in mind as well. It is no longer about the stuff that you make, things we, sell. It is about the stories that we're telling throughout this journey. Some of the best advice we've been giving our clients is more around, explaining what you've been doing as a brand, as a business throughout the pandemic. Share those thoughts with your clients, and you'll be surprised a lot of them will be able to relate to a lot of your topics. Now, obviously, in order to survive and thrive in the age of COVID-19, you can see here from the graph the sheer spike in visitors and internet traffic seen by Cloudflare, the duration coming back from sort of late 19 all the way through to sort of where we are. There's been a real surge of internet usage and so on. So everything is going online. So where you can, try and move a lot of your business to an online kind of presence. If you're, we've seen this with restaurants where they're doing takeaways now. They don't expect people to drive to the takeaway to order. What they expect, is actually them to do it through, channels like Just Eat or online or through social media. So make sure that you can move what you can online into that experience, and make sure as a customer, they do have a similar experience. If you pride yourself as a business on delivering a fantastic service, make sure that the process meets that requirement with the new world, moving online. Is there a decent follow-up? Is there a survey after to make sure that they were satisfied, for example? In which case, maybe ask them to give you a nice review. Again, all this kind of thing helps with this process. Invest in social media. Social media, the rise of social media is really staggering. So where you can invest in social media, both organic and also paid. Paid with social media will allow you to reach your audience very quickly, very efficiently. And it will also enable you to, really target your returns as well and your ROI. So, even if you run trials over a month period trying to reach somebody or a particular type of client, it's very trackable. The stats are there. You're not just now thinking about, hopefully they'll give me a call and come through the door. You can really track everything back. And it's about getting ahead of your competitors. As we come, out of lockdown, where those competitors perhaps may have pulled back on marketing, they're certainly going to be thinking about marketing moving forward as they come out. So it's about, if you have gone quiet through the pandemic, kickstart things a little bit quicker, hopefully, and get off the ground a little bit quicker than some of your competitors. And you'll hopefully beat them to some of these prospects that are there waiting to still invest in your solid services and products. And really drill down on your marketing and your communication strategy. Give it a real overhaul. Really have a long hard think about kind of what you do. Is it now effective? And how can you change it? So thank you. That sort of wraps up the presentation, really. So I'll now pass back to Greg.
Thank you, Scott. I think I did that seamlessly. There we go. Thank you very much for sharing that insights with us. We do have quite a few questions have come through, so if you're okay, we'll just rattle them through. So the first one is around, you mentioned about social listening. So somebody was asking, where do you start with social listening? What top tips have you got for somebody who wants to start doing that?
Yeah, sure. So social listening, there's there's the classic sort of approach you can take to social listening where you do a lot of the research yourself. So you can start very quickly and very easily. If I use LinkedIn as a platform for B2B, for example, actually within LinkedIn itself, you can search not only for people and companies and so on, but you can search for certain topics. So within the LinkedIn search header, in that normal search box, you can actually type topics of conversations, for example, or hashtags. And from there, you can very quickly see what people are engaging with and what they're talking about. And the idea is that you jump into those in real time. We use a platform called Sprout Social, which is a US-based tool, particularly for agencies, but also for the end users and businesses alike. And they have their own social listening set of tools within their system, where you can, for example, add topics, you can add competitors into that mix, and it will go through and pull all of that data from that manual approach into one place in real time. And very quickly, you can get a sense of sentiment towards a brand or a certain topic or keyword. You can find people that maybe are having really explosive conversations in Twitter that are getting lots of comments and lots of tractions and retweets. And it'll highlight those influencers that you can then approach directly as well. So it's actually a great way of being able to pull out key people that could publicize your brand to their followers for you.
That's great, thank you. The next one's around SEO. So do you have any sort of top tips in terms of the best way to increase domain rankings?
Yeah, so domain rankings. So in terms of domain, I mean, there's lots of factors obviously that Google looks at in terms of improving rankings and in improving a domain name. One of the biggest things is domain authority, and that's really how popular Google sees your website as, for example. Now, a lot of this is built on a trust basis. So how many links are coming from other people's sites that are relevant to yours, obviously, coming into your site. So what we call inbound links coming into your site. So if you've been launching some really good white papers, some fantastic PR and articles, you'd expect those to be picked up by some media channels. And hopefully, if those media channels run those stories and share those white papers, then you would obtain a link from those other websites. So that's a really easy way of getting these inbound links and increasing your domain authority. But ultimately, when it comes back to SEO, increasing your sort of rankings and things like that is very much around making sure that your site itself is talking about your topic and your services, making sure that you've got really genuine information. You've got a page, for example, that could be a blog that answers a really question that is very popular in your industry. So it goes back to what I said before. Think about the questions that people ask all the time and publish an article around that topic with that question in mind.
And is there an easy way for somebody to sort of understand how well their site is performing from an SEO point of view?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we offer an audit tool on our website, for example, which will review your website in terms of SEO. Any problems or potential problems. It will review your social media. It's a free tool. It's all based on AI, so it's a real-time tool that you can get the report straight away. I'm sure we can share this in chat, but ultimately, if you go to our website, which is 123internet.agency/SEO, then you can go there and perform that audit for yourself.
Cool. I've just found that link and put it in the chat for you.
Thank you.
So just sort of building upon those links, somebody was asking how long does it take for Google to identify those high quality links? I'm assuming it's not a kind of overnight situation where you've got that backlink and Google now recognizes it. Does it take a period of time?
It can take a period of time, yeah. It depends on obviously the authority of the other site as well. If it's a relatively new website, for example, those things can take some time. There was a big shift obviously towards the end of the year with Google as well in terms of its indexing structure as well. So that has of course a few delays in new links being picked up and so on. But generally speaking, any links that are kind of published on an authoritative site already, like a media outlet, for example, you would generally expect those links to be picked up within sort of 7 days, really, hopefully.
Great. I think we've started a bit of a floodgate on SEO. There are all SEO questions coming in. So, is it possible to improve your SEO significantly independently, or is it best to outsource to an SEO company for maximum improvement?
It's a really good question. So we're finding a bit of a mix on this actually. So a lot of the larger brands we work with have, as I pointed out, a lot of their employees have been upskilling. So what we're finding is people that were within the marketing, generalized marketing kind of roles, they've actually used this time, if they have been on furlough and so on, to be upskilling themselves within SEO in particular, and also social media. So I think most large brands may have somebody in-house that is capable of doing this, certainly, probably with some really good guidance and training. And again, if you've not got somebody like that in-house, it's quite a big decision, I guess, to sort of, do you go out and hire an SEO specialist who can, really yield, some really high earnings, I think, really, if they've got a lot of experience behind them. Or do you just outsource that to a company or an agency like ourselves, for example? And a lot of agencies that are full service will offer SEO. I think really for us, it's about the trust you have with the companies you're going to employ. You need to make sure they've got a track record for SEO. You need to make sure that they can give you the best outcome that you're anticipating. Bringing somebody in or outsourcing doesn't generally mean you're going to get faster results, though. SEO, especially organically, can take time still.
Yeah, just sort of building on our experience, our website's pretty big in terms of content, but it does take time and effort to sort of work through and SEO each article that we publish, and I think that's the challenge with some businesses. They've got a lot of content that maybe hasn't been SEO'd as they've done it, and going back historically will take some time, whereas obviously going forward, and if you've learned SEO, then you can set things up for success going forward. It's just sort of legacy or evergreen content that needs a bit of work on it sometimes. So I've just got one more question. It's probably a big one though. So the question was, we hope business is going back to normal in June now. Is there anything we should be doing now to be ready from a marketing perspective?
Yeah, I think there are things you can do. I mean, I would definitely start, when you're sort of, looking at the basics. It is, it goes back to reflect on what I said before. We're all looking to hopefully reopen. The companies we've been spending a lot of time with recently is hospitality industry, for example. And it's making sure in most counts that they're ready themselves. Now, from a marketing perspective, that means, if they get a flood of new inquiries, for example, are they going to be able to handle that? So in hospitality, for example, we're expecting this big boom in terms of people wanting to book holidays, stay away, and so on. Well, actually, does the site allow them to do that? So starting with the website, making sure that it is capable of doing those things, making sure that the checkout process, if you're e-commerce, is as simple as possible. If you do expect there's going to be a big spike in demand for your service as well, making sure that you've got the experience and the process behind the scenes as well to back that up. So if you do come into problems in terms of delivery, what's your next stage in terms of marketing? How are you going to combat that? And I think really as well for social media, starting early as possible is going to be the goal. Letting people know and communicating very openly and honestly with them about what you've been doing during this process. If you've been quiet, when you're going to be reopening, and what does that mean? What does that look like? Again, using hospitality as an example, what precautions have you put in place? What, have you changed it around? What does it look like now? Even down to simple things of actually, have you released a new menu? It's these little things that you need to start communicating very early through social media so people understand what to expect when they come to you in June, hopefully.
Cool. Thank you, Scott. I think that's all the questions we've got time for today. Just another poll for everybody, if you don't mind. Just really, if you wanted to find out anything more about 123 Internet Services and their marketing activities, then please click yes or no, and we'll share those with Scott, and he can reach out to you. I'll just leave that a few seconds. Okay, most of you have voted, so I'm going to close that one. Okay, just to remind people of our upcoming webinars. So we have absence management, how to deal with mental health absences, managing cybersecurity, which is another part, one of our SME series, where one of the challenges identified in that over the next 12 months was about cybersecurity. We've got health and safety at work and data and GDPR, everyone's favourite topic. Just to remind people about our own retained HR services. If you want to find out a little bit more, then please do get in contact with us. We have been supporting lots of clients throughout the last 12 months in very challenging circumstances, but we've been by their side throughout. If you want to have someone by your side like us, then please do contact us. We also got some risk and compliance audit tools. They're free to use. There's a link on the screen, but we will send a link to follow up as well. That's kind of understanding the impact of Brexit on your business, GDPR. We've got a HR risk audit and a COVID-19 self-assessment as well, especially important when people are thinking about reopening their offices again, just being ready for all of your staff. If you're not already signed up to our newsletter, then please follow the link online on the screen, and we'll send a link in the email that follows up as well. It'd be great to have you join our newsletters. If there was any questions we didn't get to today, if you want to email us at inquiries@hrsolutions-uk.com, then we can share those with Scott, who can come back to you shortly afterwards. Or you can give us a call on 0844 324 5840. That is the end of the webinar. It just leaves me to say thank you once again to Scott for the presentation. We hope you all found it useful. We will share the information with Scott about those of you who wanted to find out a little bit more, and he'll be reaching out to you. Okay, thank you everybody, and have a good day.
Thank you.